Hey guys, today I am going to be showing you how to make that adorable little chick cake. So I will show you a quick picture of what that is, and hopefully you can see that. That is your cute little chick that you're going to be making, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All right, so the materials that are included in your kit are your cake, your circle cutter, your yellow fondant, orange fondant, white fondant, and your black fondant. And also you will have a paintbrush in there, and you will have your roller, and also your chicken wing. And last but not least, you will have this mat that you'll be using. The items that you need to just bring to the table with you that are not in the kit is just a knife. You could use a butter knife. You could use a plastic knife. Either are fine. You just need a little thing of water. You could put it in anything. You don't need a ton of it. And you will also just need a little pair of scissors. It doesn't have to be as large as mine, just any pair of scissors will do. And if you want, you could just keep a towel or a napkin nearby just so you can wipe your hands. All right, so let's get started. So first, what we are going to do is we are going to wet our cake. So this is cake pop style cake. It makes it much easier for the kids to work with. It just allows the fondant to go on much easier, and also the cake doesn't dry out nearly as fast as a layered cake. So your frosting is already mixed into your cake, so all you have to do is you have to wet the outside of it in order to get your fondant to stick to the cake. That's what you have to do for any of the decorations that go on your cake. So anytime you need fondant to stick to something, you just put a little bit of water on it and it will stick. Just make sure that your water doesn't spill or anything like that, because if too much water gets on fondant, or really like any bit of water, unless you're sticking it to something, it can ruin your fondant. All right, so first what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet my cake. So if you want, you can do this with your hands if it's just for you, if you're the one that's eating it, or you could do it with your paintbrush. It'll just take a bit longer, but I'm going to do it with my hands. So I'm going to dip my hands in some water, and try not to get your mat wet, okay? Do this away from your mat because you don't want that water sitting on your mat while you're trying to roll out fondant. It will not be good. So I'm just going to kind of wet this all around and make sure that it's pretty wet, like all over. Not like soaking wet, just wet enough so that it's just a little bit of a layer of water around it. So just so you could see. All right, so it's damp. All right, so now I'm going to put that water off to the side, and I'm going to thoroughly wipe my hands because you do not want to deal with fondant with wet hands, and I'm also going to wipe my mat where I just got it a little wet. All right, so there's that. And now, make sure those hands are dry. So you are going to take your yellow fondant, and you are going to knead it because sometimes it gets a little hard being wrapped up in that plastic. So you just got to knead it a little bit, just like this. All right, just stretch it out a few times and then roll it back into a bowl if you want to, like that. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you are going to take your circle cutter, put it right here, and this part is going to be the very long and tedious part, but not hard, just it's going to take a while. So you're going to roll that fondant out. It doesn't have to be any specific kind of shape or anything like that you're rolling it to. You're just going to roll out one big sheet of this fondant. Okay? And you don't want it to be really thick. You actually want it to be relatively thin. Okay? All right. So I would say right about there, that should be good. This is the piece I'm not going to use right here because that's really thick. All right. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your circle cutter and you're just going to start making a whole bunch of circle cutouts. And I mean a bunch of them. You're going to need a lot. So if you find towards the end of covering this cake that you don't have enough, that means that you did not roll your fondant thin enough, that it needs to be rolled much thinner, because you should have more than enough to cover your whole cake, plus adding the wings, and I'll tell you about that later. But so if you have a plunger cutter, which is what this is with this little thing on top, you will not be pushing this in. You do not need to do that. What you're going to do is you're just going to hold it by here, by the bottom, okay? And you're just going to press, okay? And if it gets stuck in there, then you could use that, all right? But you're just gonna press and push out. Press and push out, okay? You're gonna make a whole bunch of these. So just, you keep going, and if you want, you can fast forward this part, because after a while, you're gonna get the hang of this. You don't need to watch me make a gazillion of these circles. So you can go ahead and do that if you'd like. But in case you do want to watch the whole thing, then I am going to just keep going. Need a lot of these circles in order for us to cover that whole baby chick. All right, so you can, the ones that stuck to the fondant, you can just take those out. All right, here we go. Some of them might stick a little bit, you just gotta pull them off. And you may need to go back and make more. So this may not cover the whole cake. It probably won't actually. You'll probably have to re-roll it out again and cut more circles, which is totally fine. And I will show you how to do that. So this part just takes a while, but it's nice though. It's kind of relaxing almost. All right, so the rest of this yellow fondant, I'm just gonna roll back up into a bowl, and I'm going to definitely need that, okay? So put that off to the side, and then we can start putting these little feathers in our cake. So my cake dried up a little bit in the meantime, so off to the side. I'm not gonna do this anywhere near my mat, okay? Do this off to the side. You're gonna kind of wet with your water, okay? With your fingers. You're gonna stick your fingers in there again and kind of just wet that cake again, okay? Because it might have dried out a little bit. If it doesn't feel dry, if it feels nice and sticky still on the cake, then you don't have to do that. But I'm gonna re-wet mine so it sticks. Okay. Then wipe your hands, make sure they are thoroughly, thoroughly dry. All right, so now we can get to sticking our feathers on our cake. So I'm kind of doing this backwards, so please forgive me. So you can start really anywhere, okay? So just start sticking away, and you want it to just make sure it hits the bottom here, so that, you know, you don't have like a gap between the bottom and you can see the cake, you know? So you're gonna slightly, just ever so slightly overlap each one, okay? Just a tiny bit, all right? All right, so next one, you go a little bit over that last one, just a little bit. So you don't want to like go like all the way over like halfway, or like, you know, just a little bit, okay? So if you can see what I'm doing so far. Okay, just like that. All right, and you're gonna keep going around. You're gonna keep overlapping a tiny bit and go around the whole cake. And once again, you could fast forward this part if you'd like, because you kind of get the hang of it. All right, so look, I got to my last one. You could just plop that on there, okay? And then what you're gonna do is you are going to go to the next level, and once again, overlap ever so slightly and go in between. So right here. So that's where you would start, right there. Just like that, just overlapping a little bit because you don't want to be here all day doing this. Okay. Go ahead, overlap. See, like mine's not like perfect either. It's totally fine. Feathers aren't always perfect. Okay, as long as you're covering up all the gaps. So you're gonna go around once again. And you can get creative if you want with your feathers. You don't have to do it just like mine. You can really do it any way you want. And if your cake at any point starts to get dry, you'll know because your feathers will start kind of like falling off and they won't be sticking as you do it. Then you could take your paintbrush, you could wet it a little bit, and you can wet those areas that need to be wet a little bit more so that the fondant will stick to it. You'll need a little bit of water to do that. So keep going until you meet up on the, oopsie, mine's getting a little dried out, so if they start doing that, then you know that you need a little bit more water. Okay. So there we go. All right, that's your second level, and you're gonna keep going up and up until you finish this whole thing, okay? And I'm gonna pause this so you guys can finish that, and you just keep going up and up until you hit the top, and you know, make sure that you do it all the way up to the top, okay? So you can, I'm gonna pause it, and you guys finish that, and then I will continue.